really depends on what the requirement is. There are pros and cons to each solution. So the advantage of cloud-based solutions is that, in theory, as I said earlier, they can scale up and quickly meet tight deadlines and larger document sets. So if we use the term of software as a service or infrastructure as a service, and if it's all based on virtual computing, I can add another virtual server, just like that. And therefore, I increase my processing speed. So I can meet that really, really tight deadline. So you need to really understand what it is you're getting into. So when a service provider, such as ourselves, say, look, we can put this in the cloud for you, what does that actually mean? Is it infrastructure as a service? Are we able to scale up quickly to meet those tight deadlines? Or is it just a server in a server room or offsite in a data center? So running a proper due diligence is really, really important so that you know what you're getting into. The problem with cloud-based eDiscovery is that it suffers from a misnomer. What people think is cloud-based eDiscovery, like I said, is really just a server in a data center. So if you actually go and speak to your service provider and understand what it is that they are offering, you'll be able to make an informed choice. Maybe what you're asking for is not what they can provide. And maybe what they can provide is maybe far too much than what you actually really need. There are actually many, many different types of solutions when it comes to cloud-based eDiscovery. These cover the entire spectrum of the EDRM. So from the information management side, all the way to presentation at trial. So what's strange though is that people always tend to focus on hosting only, which seems really, really odd to me, because you've got a number of different service providers and different software, which really run as software as a service that you can use for specific part of the eDiscovery process. So for example, organizations are already using cloud and many of them don't really know they are. Say they are using an archival system for email. They could be using Enterprise Vault, which is from Veritas. Well, they offer Enterprise Vault in the cloud. So it could already be there. And that's where platforms such as Clearwell, which is also owned by Veritas, can connect directly to that and maybe process that data and make it available for review. You've got other tools which are singular tools that maybe provide, legal hold. So that will help you manage that process if you're in-house counsel, that you can upload the list of custodians, you can prepare the template, you can schedule when the emails go out, and you can ensure that they've been received and that they've been read and so on. So having said all that, what clients need to be aware of is that bandwidth is a major issue. In a past video that we made together, I spoke about the logistics of doing eDiscovery in our region, in Southeast Asia. That we have these tools that enable us to do collections over the network and so on. But one of the issues I obviously raised was regulatory compliance. Are we allowed to do that? But one major issue is obviously bandwidth. And that's the same with a lot of these cloud-based offerings. When I attended Legal Tech a number of years ago, there were a number of software providers that were talking about how they can collect from the cloud, et cetera, et cetera. I said, yes, that's fine if it's in the United States or a developed nation where the bandwidth is really strong across the entire country. But in Asia, there are, even within the same country, there are differing bandwidths. Even here in Singapore, where we had a matter where we had a lawyer who wrote us an email. He said, look, the site's really slow loading, the document loading speed is really slow. Can you do something about it, please? It's taking a number of minutes per document. So we tested it at our end and we're like, well, it's fine. It loads in a few seconds. So never mind, we took obviously his feedback, and we were working with our own network service provider to see what we could do to improve our bandwidth our end. And while we were doing that, he emailed us and he said, actually, problem resolved. So I called him up and I said, what happened? He said, oh, I'm at home. My bandwidth at home is way faster than than my firm's bandwidth. I'm going to raise this at the next meeting with my partner, because if it's a problem for me, it's a problem for all my colleagues. So if law firms in particular are going to be looking at making use of cloud-based service providers for document review and document storage, they have to ensure that they have enough bandwidth in place.